For tonight's meeting, we have one regret, Deputy Warden Gregory. And at this time, we're going to pause to seek guidance. Okay, now at this time, we're going to move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Can we get someone to add a contractual in-camera item, please?
Contractual in-camera? Wait, I forgot about that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, the next is a motion to have Nadine Warren from Y-Reach come forward.
So moved.
Do you have a seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome. Good evening.
I promise I won't take much of your time. I think most of you already are aware of Y-Reach. The program's been around for a number of years, and I am the third settlement support staff that has been placed out in Digby, out at Cornwallis. Jill Balser was the first settlement support staff, and then Lindsay Longmire. And then I joined the organization in September. So really this is just a, hi, I'm the new face of Y-Reach, remind you a little bit about what the program is and answer any questions you may have. There is a presentation, and honestly, I'll go through it really, really quickly because most of you know this stuff anyways. So we provide settlement and language support to immigrants to the area, newcomers, refugees, and we also do awareness raising to try and develop a community-wide approach to welcoming our newcomers so that they feel, or start to feel as quickly as possible, that this is now their home rather than just someplace that they've landed. In Nova Scotia, we're funded by the Office of Nova Scotia Office of Immigration. That's our funder. Priority for our program is long-term successful retention and integration of the people who move to this area. I know some of you are familiar with the Syrian family that's been here for 4 years now. We've had a whole new host of people come in out of Digby Fisheries. Some of them are living out in Cornwallis at ADCC, and others of them are living here in town. And so you're seeing more and more newcomers coming into the area than perhaps what you have in the past few years. And that's primarily through the Atlantic Immigration Project. In addition, we're trying to build on existing community supports and services, having significant geographical scope. So in Halifax, they have all kinds of services available for newcomers. Out here in the more rural areas, we're stretched a lot thinner. So for example, I look after all newcomers who move into the Paradise area all the way through the Municipality of Digby and then out to Matagan. So it's a substantial geographical area. And the idea is, again, is that we're boots on the ground. We go and provide service directly to the individuals as they need it. And show extensive collaboration with our community partners from a wide variety of organizations and partners. So tomorrow there's a function, some of you may know of it. It's going to be over at the Digby Fire Hall, and it's hosted by NSOI and Nova Scotia Works, and they're bringing in, I think, approximately 40 employers and some organizations that are targeted specifically towards newcomer population to try and help employers get a better understanding of what supports and services are available to them if they decide to take up the opportunity to become a designated employer under the Atlantic Immigration Project. So we have 9 settlement sites here in Nova Scotia, and we have 20 language service delivery sites. The 20 sites are spread out. In our area, we have Ann Zimmerman, who does Paradise, Annapolis Royal, Cornwallis, and Digby, and then we have Katie Melanson, who's over on the other side of the municipality with Church Point and Meteghan and all that Clare area. So the challenges and barriers, I'm sure you're all quite familiar with them. Primarily, you can go ahead and flip to the next one, just a pretty picture. Language is probably one of the biggest barriers. Loneliness, racism, finding suitable housing, significant change in lifestyle, no social network, that's especially for the younger ones, that's a bit of a challenge. The weather. I have a gentleman who joined us last year from Syria, and he just went through his first winter. Found it quite interesting to live through winter here in Nova Scotia. And then on the next slide, we talk about youth challenges. And of course, we have a youngster coming in, he's 17 years old, and he's going to be arriving with his family at the beginning of April. And we just started talking to the Digby Regional High School about what we can do for him. He's never been to school. In his entire life, he has never been to school. So not only is he challenged because he doesn't speak English, he doesn't speak his native language very well either. So the school has to be flexible, and part of our role is to make sure that we support him as much as possible in the school system. So making friends, being bullied, parental conflict. This is one that unless you've experienced it, imagine you've grown up in a society where the father is the head of the family, and now because of a barrier with English, it's the teenage children that are now becoming the interactor with community supports. So then we go on to the challenges facing individuals in a smaller center. And this won't come as a surprise either. Transportation's the biggest one. And less diversity, fewer employment opportunities. And the list just goes on and on. So then our approach, as I mentioned to you before, is boots on the ground. We go and we do what the client needs us to do. And I'm just going to give you two quick examples of that. We have a young gentleman down in Meteghan who has a son with cerebral palsy. Did not know about the disability tax credit and did not know about employment and income support through the province. So we've been able to help him find funding through both of those resources to help support their 17-year-old son. And then another example was I had a gentleman, the one in Bear River from Syria, wanted to learn how to hunt. I don't know how you get a hunting license in Nova Scotia, but I do now because that's the support that he wanted from me. So it can be as different by person to person as anything you can imagine, the kind of support that I provide. And again, we try to accommodate their availability. So if I have a client who says to me, Nadine, I'm working during the day, I need you to come and help me with my taxes tonight, then I go tonight because I have that flexibility in my role.
Is it a full-time position that you have? Because I seem to recall it was part-time in the past.
No, both Jill and Lindsay were full-time.
Oh,
It's
were
just,
they?
see, a lot of it is, you might come to the Y and you might say, hey, where's Nadine? And I might not have been there for 2 days because I've been out in the field or in Meteghan or what. So I'm full-time and you can reach me by phone or text or email. I'm very reachable.
We have some kids coming from Algeria to the islands. Is there language supports available for them? Would people be able, how would that work?
Okay, so if you have children who are coming with family members, and the family members are, they qualify for my program, then yes, we can get them support through the school.
Oh, so they might not, because it is a type of working visa, would that make a difference?
Anyone who is on a temporary work permit, no, they're not eligible for my program. So they have to be here as a refugee or someone through the Atlantic Immigration Project, an entrepreneurial visa. But for children who come in through the International Student Program, that's any support for them is funded a different way. And anyone who's here on a temporary work permit, no, I can't help them
Okay,
At
I
least
can't remember, I
initially.
don't think it might not be a temporary, it's a different, it's something else altogether.
Give
I
me a
can't
call.
remember, there's a half a dozen programs though, that's the thing, that's.
Give me a call and I'll help you walk through them.
Okay, what's your phone number?
I'm gonna give you my business card in
That's
just a
great, there we
moment.
go.
And so again, it just talks about the settlement program and the focus that we have. So it's community-based, including individual support, group support, school settlement. I go in to both schools here in Digby now. Also go into the Bridgetown Regional Community School to help a youngster there. And then community collaboration.
What about marriage, if somebody who's getting married and they're from away? Because I have 2 cases of that too.
So they are marrying someone from
One's
away and
Canadian.
they're coming.
One's American, one's Chinese.
Okay, so normally what would happen is, once they arrive, they have to get their permanent resident status, and then they can apply for their, health card,
We're at that, yeah.
okay? And then all they have to do is give me a call and I'll come and support them.
Okay, so that one's quite easy, she's
Straightforward.
dealing with the federal government. Okay.
And that would be ISANS that she's dealing with probably.
Okay. All right, yeah, well, there's a few things I might very well give you a call.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that I came by. And then our language support services. So again, we don't, Anne does not go into the schools. The schools have their own stream for language services, but I can go into the school and help the kids. Now, there's some stuff that I'm really great at, English, math, that kind of stuff, I'm good. Not so good in science, so I can only focus on supporting the students with the work that I'm good at, but the schools do have funding through, again, NSOI to support newcomer kids in the school.
What's that, NSOI?
NSOI, Nova Scotia Office of Immigration. I love acronyms, so that I tend to talk in a lot of acronyms. And so then we are, again, complex interventions, human services, relationships. We try and wrap that kind of support around the individuals to help them feel settled. And then if you want to skip, this is just a pretty picture, and welcoming communities. So we're always looking for skilled employees. I don't think anybody here is surprised that we don't have enough skilled people for many of the industries in our area. And so that was one of the reasons why the AIP was first a project, and now it's become a permanent stream under immigration. It also helps to increase our population and diversity. It helps us gain a reputation for being welcoming to newcomers. And having a diverse society is positive for everybody, because every person brings new ideas, new ways of doing things that we can all capitalize on. And then the newcomer communities. The newcomers engage in local organizations and activities, often as volunteers. The children of our newcomers enter the education system and develop the skills and knowledge necessary to then turn around and contribute to our community. And they bring investment opportunities and connections to outside local markets, as well as new ideas, new perspectives, and new voices of optimism. And then the last slide is just how you can contact me. But I did bring along some business cards for you. And a little card.
How good are we, sorry,
Okay.
how good are we doing at keeping people around?
Actually, I won't shake anybody else's hand. I just remembered I'm not supposed to do that.
There's foot tap.
Yeah.
Is that what they're doing?
That's what they said. It's just the elbow tap now.
I just put stuff on my hands.
Keeping newcomers.
Extra clean.
For us, it hasn't been as much of a challenge. It does tend to be a bit of a challenge.
Thank you.
Good to see you again. It does tend to be just a bit of a challenge if we can't offer them opportunities.
Yes.
And so, there you go. So far, we've only lost one family. Oh, I won't shake your hand.
Oh, that's all right.
And you know me. We've only lost one family from the area, and they were from down the Tagan Way, and they were from Rwanda. and he didn't see himself working in Riverside Lobster.
Yeah.
Wasn't interested in it. And before, when they were still in the camp, they met up with a gentleman also from Rwanda who ended up going to Kitchener. So this family packed up after pretty close to the end of their sponsorship period, packed up and moved to Kitchener, Ontario. And that was a challenge because I'm sure you can imagine, they don't know anybody there, but they don't know the social assistance system over there. And the beauty was, that was my background. I came from Ontario and had connections there, so I was able to hook them up. But the sponsorship group was in a panic over what they were going to do, because if you don't speak English and you can't read English and you land in Toronto International Airport, guess what? Yeah, and they didn't have anybody meeting them at the airport when they landed. So that's all about me. Sorry, I took way more than my 10 minutes.
But all right.
And Dave, please give me a call, and I'll help you any way I can with what you've got
I'm
on the
gonna
go.
go visit the family. That's coming.
So the card decks that I gave you really are not for you. What they're for is, if you happen to come across somebody who's new to the area and is asking you questions about anything, please give them the card decks and tell them to give me a call, because that's my role, to support you helping newcomers to our area.
Right on.
Thank you very much.
Wait a minute, there might be some questions for you.
Oh, no, I don't remember there being, I'm joking.
Questions? I do. ISANS, what kind of relationship do you have with them, and do they help you, or they support for you when it comes to working with the immigrants to our municipality?
Okay, so think of it in terms of ISAN's the big brother, and we're the little guy.
Right.
So in terms of helping me, if I've got questions or I've got challenges or I need, and again, part of it's my own learning curve, if I need guidance on how to manage a particular challenge that I'm facing, they're great. They've been very welcoming. I won't say that we interact on a daily basis, but we certainly have a good working relationship. In terms of probably greater support is probably NSOI, because a lot of the clients that I'm dealing with are through the AIP stream. And when they get to the part where they're going for their permanent resident status, they have to have that letter of endorsement from NSOI. Some employers are fabulous. Riverside Lobster, they do everything for their employees. And when it goes to the province, and
a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and the employee does very little of that. We have a gentleman here in town who went for his endorsement and found out after the fact that he wasn't ready with all of his paperwork. And now we have to go back and ask for a reissue of that letter of endorsement. And you can only get a reissue 2 times after the original one's issued. So NSOI has been fabulous, walking me through what I need to know in order to be able to support this individual. But really, that is between the employer and the employee. I just happened to walk into it and thought, okay, I can figure this out and I can support them both, which is what I'm doing now.
Okay. Next, I want to know, how welcoming has the community at large been with new people coming into the community?
So if there's any place that I'm kind of facing a bit of an uphill battle, that would be my weakness right now, is finding. So you'll remember Jill had she had the meet and greet out at Cornwallis, and then she had the international breakfast over at the campus, and then she had the thing down at the curling club. Lindsay had the summit in 2018 at the high school. Lindsay left around April of 2019, so there's been nothing since then. And I've been, pulling my hair trying to figure out what to do. So when I was visiting the town, I was asking them about Natal Day. And what did we do for Natal Day? So they explained to me that Natal Day is actually scallop days, which I'm gonna have to figure out how to hook on to that. But I was thinking about doing a picnic or something and just trying to get something organized that welcomes, because we've got at least 2 more families coming in for Digby fisheries between now. I guess the coronavirus has slowed down them being able to get over here.
Right.
We've got the new Syrian family with 8 people coming
Will
in.
they stay, these guys, do you think? Like, for work? Is that the plan? Like, when people come in and work at Gidney's Fisheries, is it sort of like, hey, we got a job, we're going to put down roots? Is that sort of happening? Or, because I understand how difficult it can be to want to be around your own people. When I was in Hong Kong, I went to a party once, and it wasn't just all white people, it wasn't just all Canadians, it was all Nova Scotians. And so if you get really, you want people just like you know. Do you having trouble with that?
Right now, I can't tell you that we're having trouble with it. It'll be interesting after the year is up to see. What worries me is that many of the people that I've spoke to and interviewed so far are all coming really well-developed credentials. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure where to get that HPP when you've got a bachelor in English literature is going to be satisfying enough. My hope is that it will.
Councilor Ross had a question?
I did. I was kind of hinting around to, but now that you say that, I mean, I guess, yeah, depends on the group that's coming.
Absolutely.
If you want to integrate them in with other people, I know Annette Camo does a lot with international students. I know she'll take them out on things like the curling club will have special days and stuff like that. That way you can get the kids involved with those kids, and it gives them time to be around, like David said, around from their own country and integrate them in with other students and stuff like that. That's just something I was thinking of, but I see the other issue you have, and that's an uphill. Yeah.
So if we are fortunate to keep all of the people that we have, doing some kind of celebration around Meal Day makes a lot of sense to me because they'll all have been here for a little while.
Yep.
And when I say there's a lot, we have a pastor from Zambia down on the island.
Yep.
Yeah. We have a new young lad working up here at Stanford and Associates from China. We've got the 10 people from Korea that are out at Digby. Then we've got the 2 Syrian families. We've got another Syrian family in Bear River. So
Sounds really positive lately.
Yeah, it is.
We've had so many waves of immigration to Nova Scotia. We haven't had one in 100. It's been about 100 years since. Unless you count the Americans running off from the war in the States. I have a question. Is everybody that's coming have to be highly educated? What's wrong with having a working class person coming to a working class job here? I don't understand why everybody has to have a master's of education and then they end up working at a fish plant.
Yeah, I think maybe if you look at it in terms of they want the opportunity to come. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's the employer saying, "Oh yeah, we want to hire."
No, I think it's the federal government. I'm thinking
I don't necessarily agree with you, Dave. I really do think they've got to match the individual to the job that they have available, and so if they have to post the positions for a month before they can start accepting international recruits, and I mean, you can't blame them. If I get an international recruit who's got that kind of an educational background, who's demonstrated how quickly they can learn. Yeah. So that would be good for me as an employer, but it truly is driven, I think, by the individuals who want to come and what they're bringing to the table as far as their educational background is concerned.
I know everybody wants the best and brightest, but I think the best and brightest doesn't necessarily mean someone has an education.
Well, if they end up leaving.
I'd like to thank you for coming tonight, and just wanted to mention one more thing, is that the town and the municipality have a committee called the Shared Services Committee, and in the past we've had people in your position attend the meeting sometimes, because we've talked about how can we become a more welcoming community. And so at a future time, we've got your contact information. We'll let you know when the meeting takes place. And that, hopefully you can come and share some of your experiences and maybe help us try to make improvements in the area so that we are more welcoming. Because it's one thing to be welcoming and be friendly to people, but it's to keep them and retain them here. And you got to try to make them feel like this is their home. And they just can't come here. And like you said, it makes it hard for them to break in and make friends and become part of the society. So it would be great if we could work together to try to make that happen.
I think that would be fantastic. Thank you very much for the offer. I would gladly participate.
Thank you.
And sorry I took so much of your time.
No, it's interesting.
Lady.
Thanks, Dee. People moving to our village is top of the line interest for all of us down there.
I'm glad to hear that. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of January the 13th. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes of January 13th, 2020.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye, approved. Unfinished business from the minutes of January 13th. There's none listed. Does anybody have anything they want to bring forward? If not, we're going to go into the CAO report. In the CAO report, the first thing is you've got the meeting event dates and reminders as of March the 9th. And you'll note that there's no meeting on March the 30th, but other than that, you have a full slate of meetings there. Is everybody okay? Do you have any regrets for any of these?
Not that I know of. No, I don't think so.
Okay. The next is the CAO report. You've had a chance to review the report. Is there any questions for the CAO?
Yeah, I just want to maybe mention something about the RCMP. I just can't get over that. It just doesn't. That's what I'm looking for here. It doesn't make sense with our experience that they would be withdrawing permission for us to reduce our complement by one member, and it's just so suspicious. What was it? 10 years we were 3-4 members under the complement, and they said that 11 members is enough. And then when we review it and say that, well, clearly we're over policed, and then they come back with massive 50, 60, 70% increases in crimes the next year. And I'm also hearing from people that work there that there's a real focus now, not so much on service, but on checking as many boxes as you can. And then they come back and say, no, we've changed our mind. It almost makes you feel like you're being treated like a fool a bit. It's a bit much.
There has been a letter go to the province in regards to this matter, and it's not something that we take lightly either.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be working on this to see, we want them to try to justify to us the last stats that they provided, and try to, how did they get to those numbers. On the note of the RCMP too, I just want to let you know that I received an email from the staff sergeant, the new staff sergeant, on Friday. He'd like to come before council to meet us and, just speak to us, briefly about,
That's promising, because I don't think I ever did meet the last staff sergeant.
Should have.
We was here at that one meeting, I remember.
You might have met Staff Sergeant Chubbs, I know you did.
I do recall that.
So, anyways, the new staff sergeant, I met him at the Digby Firemen's banquet, and had a chat with him there, and I mentioned to him about coming to council, and he did reach out and send an email. So I talked to Jeff about the availability to have him come on the council meeting, and if that doesn't work, then maybe the next committee of the whole.
That's a good idea. Maybe I'll ask him to come down to the fire departments or something.
You can speak to him that night. But anyway, I wanted to mention that.
Okay.
Is there any other questions pertaining to CO report? Councilor Manzer.
Dash, have they been around at all?
Nope, just as indicated in the report, they've applied for some funding projects and have had some internal meetings regarding what community consultation is going to look like when we get there. I think that's going to be early spring at best, seeing as we're in March already.
But this isn't just the municipal school, I tried.
Yeah, I'll have to deal with it.
Is there any other questions for the CAO? Hearing none, we have the department reports. You've had a chance to review the reports. Is there any questions? I just want to note one thing, that it's disappointing to see it, but I wish people would stop doing it, but here we are, the report for February, and we've already had 13 fire calls for grass fires. You
I
know,
saw that.
people don't understand what that does. I mean, you have volunteers going out, you know, they train as firemen to, you know, try to protect people's property, but when people deliberately set grass fires, and they let them get out of hand, but there's been 13 already, and so, anyway, I saw that and I wasn't too impressed. Actually, there's been 17 to year to date, so there was 4 in January. So you wouldn't think people would be burning grass in that time of year. Any questions for the report, for the different reports that came forward? Hearing none, we're going to move on. There's nothing under dangerous and unsightly for tonight. We're going to go to business items. First one's 4.1. We have funding requests from the Admiral Digby Museum, the Fundy Dental Community Association, Juniper House, and Southwest Nova Biosphere Reserve Association. And can I have a motion to move those to our budgeting process? Do I have a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. The next item up is asset management. Jeff, I'll get you to speak on this.
So, as we discussed at bylaw and policy, we were looking at moving forward with the asset management in a bit of a unusual, I guess, for most of these programs. We just say we're going to do it and we can appoint a person later. In this one, when we join, in an effort to ensure commitment and people that understand their names are involved in this commitment, they're looking for names sooner rather than later. So I can handle the staff side of this form for the names, but we need a counselor and a backup is what I'm looking for. There are 3 sessions that will be traveling most likely to the city, potentially up the valley during the next 18 months. One of it's not a requirement, but one of the preferences within our group at this point is that you are reoffering. Ideally, it would be fantastic if you could stick with this program through the election process. And the other thing is that there is a commitment to ensure attendance at these meetings and the internal meetings we'll be having in between this, right? You'll be kind of the voice and the connection for council of this initiative.
Okay. Any questions? Can I have a motion for someone to put forward?
I motion to elect.
Linda Gregory's not here.
Well, Linda's not here, but I motion to elect George Manzer as our representative, and back up with me, Linda Gregory, but she's not here tonight, so.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that for sure.
Okay.
All right, with that, George?
Okay, George, I feel kind of bad.
You do.
Yeah, I'll bring you some law.
George likes cities.
We'll find some work for you.
All right, that
Well, we'll leave Linda's name to stand, and if something happens that she can't be the alternate, then we'll have to look at a different
Linda
option.
lost a good meeting 400 kilometers away for whatever reason, so.
When does the law
Okay with it.
meeting start? You have any ideas, Jeff?
I think they're looking at one potentially in April. They're trying to, that's why the pressure is on to get this filled in and get it, that we're not the only municipal unit that they're trying to corral a little bit right now. So yeah, I think they're looking to start in April to get this going as soon as possible.
Well, some of these will be,
Yep.
some of these will be in Halifax, Jeff?
Yes.
And then some, like, more local?
Yeah, the internal, so there's going to be, picture it like there's a bigger group, we'll get together and talk, I guess, about kind of overall initiatives. Then we'll come back and there'll be an internal meeting on kind of some, picture like a homework assignment, I guess, on doing our own thing about Digby. And then we'll go back to the next session, and as I understand it, we'll report on what we did locally, and then the group will kind of learn what the next step is and talk about that.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, I feel some relief. I have 10 years of secondary education. I don't want another minute of it. It's like, ugh.
Okay, there's
I don't
nothing.
learn anything else I have.
There's no other business items, and there's no correspondence for tonight. So before we go in camera, do you have any questions pertaining to what we discussed tonight?
I just didn't know what the RCMP situation was that you were discussing.
Okay, we had a review on policing done probably about 2 years ago, and we were looking at the cost. Like our costs for policing are going up through the roof every year, and we were looking at how we could try to curtail some of those costs. So we had a review done for Digby County, which included Clare, the municipality of Digby, and the town of Digby, and the RCMP and the Department of Justice did this review, and they spent, well, actually they spent about a year doing it. So it was about almost 2 years ago since the report was done. And the way they made it sound like there wouldn't be any efficiencies by doing that, because we felt if we could share a staff sergeant, it would cut down some costs, and plus it would integrate the two different detachments better, so that would give us better service overall. And so the outcome of it was so that they did say at that time that we could cut a member back if we so choose to do so. And just a little background on that, probably about 10 or 12 years ago, the RCMP approached the council to increase the membership by 1 member, and the way they presented it to council was that they wanted us to, or they wanted that position to work on senior safety and drug enforcement. And that never really materialized that way, because we do have a senior safety coordinator, and the drug enforcement part didn't get done to the way we thought it was going to. So anyways, that position actually just rolled into the general duties of the operations of the RCMP for our community. And we were okay with it. But when we started seeing the increased costs going up and up and up, and also another thing that's triggered us wanting to cut 1 member is that we've had a funding formula for the staff sergeant for the detachment here, and we paid a portion and the town paid a portion. So to make it equitable, we're going to be paying more money, and so that's another increased cost to us. So by us cutting a member, it's going to allow us to at least save a little bit of money. And we also looked at the size of the community. The municipality has been decreasing in population, it's aging in population, and we felt that we could cut a member and still provide good, adequate service to the community. So we've had discussions with the RCMP about this. They did say at one time, about a year ago, that we could cut a member, and that would be okay. The staff sergeant that was here at the time didn't have an issue with it. But now then, just recently, we've received a letter from the RCMP saying they've reversed their decision on that, based on the new stats that they've received. But we want to know, how did they come up with the stats, and how can they justify this change of heart? That's where we are right now on that.
That was an excellent summary.
Well,
I would say.
Can I ask a question about what you said?
Yeah.
So as your staff numbers are up higher and your population has gone down, have you seen any difference in the crime rate at all? Has it gone up? Has it stayed the same?
What they do is they evaluate the policing, the workload at, it's not just crime, it could be accidents, it could be any call that the RCMP member would have. Like, so they have a caseload, so they base it so that they have a percentage of caseload for each member. And we felt that we were going in the right direction. We felt that we could cut a member and it would be okay. But they're saying now that the numbers have gone right up, and we want justification and try to get more clarification on what those numbers actually mean. Are they just, I don't mean trivial, but I mean, are the numbers justified for the merit to keep another member? So that's where we are with it right now. Is there any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming tonight. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess and go in camera.